Toxic stress is a very serious issue, and parents need to be aware that it is one of their most important jobs is to create a stress-less environment for that child, to help that child grow with as little stress as possible. Now, stress is a part of life. We'll never get rid of stress, but it's not your job as a parent to stress your child out. It's your job as a parent to nurture your child and to give them the comfort and security that they need for a healthy life.
Shortly after I was born, my mother fell into meth, and then my dad, he was alcoholic. And I used to get really bad nightmares about it, where they were fighting over me, and they're like tugging my arms like hella hard, back and forth. I look really identical to my mom, like that's like my twin, and I feel like that was like a trigger for him. Like whenever he would drink, he would just go off, like if I was her. You know, I don't like my dad, but I don't hate my mom because she went through a lot as a kid, so that I'm very understanding about. Like she went through crazy stuff before counseling was a thing. And I've always just kept that in mind, you know. She didn't have a lot of love, so I thought like if I showed her love, like she could step out of what she was doing.
Well, my mother was just constantly just like abusing us, not physically, but there was time where it was physically, but it was mainly like emotional and mental abuse. But after a while, like when I was like 14, I think, I started smoking and like snorting cocaine as well. At the time it felt good because like it suppressed my feelings, but I really just tried to like not stay connected with my mother, because every time when I do speak to her, it's like something in the back of my head just started bringing up all the trauma.
So a time in my life where I experienced trauma and when something like really affected me was probably throughout my parents' divorce. The way that it affected me, I just felt alone. I didn't know really who I could turn to. Kids' mental health, I feel like that's a topic that nobody really wants to talk about, and I feel like it's the topic that we should all be talking about. It's something that really affects kids, and it will continue to affect them throughout their adult life.
I was brought here at Yosemite High School 3.5 years ago to work with our most vulnerable populations. That includes foster, homeless, and displaced youth. So, you know, with that comes, you know, I have some students that have moved around to 12 different homes within a period of 4 years being in the system. I have kids who have lost parents to drug use and abuse. I have kids who have been through a tremendous amount of physical, emotional abuse. I have kids who have been homeless. Before I worked here as a counselor, I worked in teenagers in San Estelles County and here in Merced County, and the stories are horrendous. I don't think that a lot of adults, unless you've been exposed to their stories, have any idea what our kids are coming to us with.
You know, growing up in an abusive household where there was the emotional disconnect, where my father would lash out to me in anger, and I would get hit on more than one occasion. I started off drinking alcohol when I was young, smoking marijuana, and then when I was probably 15, 16 years old, I ended up snorting meth, and the criminal behavior took me to prison, and this went on a pathway for me that lasted for 25 years.
So some of the childhood trauma that I've experienced is I ended up being manipulated, coerced, and trapped into human trafficking for a part of my life. I hated everything about me, and so I reached out into the community looking for resources to help me grow and change. And I came across Dave Lockridge and ACE Overcomers and was able to enroll in that class, and it ended up being a great experience.
2 years ago, I was sexually assaulted, and my daughter was a witness. Well, my therapist or counselor from the Valley Crisis Center gave me a pamphlet of this ACE program class. And, you know, at that point, I'll do anything and everything to see whatever works. So what I learned was that I need to overcome my own experiences that I have had in my childhood or even in my recent young adulthood, because they affect how I parent and what I'm fearful of, and then pass it on to my daughter as well.
Well, trauma comes in many forms. They could be talking about the physical abuse, they could be talking about neglect, they could be talking about sexual abuse. Oftentimes people are in denial that they've even experienced trauma, because prior to me facilitating these classes, I actually had no idea that I had my own personal trauma. It wasn't until we started going through the 8 weeks time after time that I realized, wow, I grew up and had my own trauma. So you can heal from it, but you have to first recognize that you've experienced it. First and foremost, you have to accept yourself and realize that what you went through is not your fault. If the person that caused you harm is related to you or somebody that you loved and trusted, that's even deeper. That wound is even deeper. So it really will just depend on the individual and what happened. But yeah, there is no cookie cutter method. It's just based on identifying what happened, accepting who you are as a person, forgiving yourself, forgiving them, because that's a big, huge thing. You need to just forgive, and then moving forward.